Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kiru. As you know, I talk to a lot of engineers on the daily basis, me coming up as an engineer as well. I notice the differences between a jacked engineer versus an out of shape engineer. And it's actually the way you think about fitness. And it ties back to how you kind of grew up with engineering. And this even goes back all the way to when you were in middle school and elementary school. I know it sounds crazy, but the way you were wired kind of makes fitness hard for you. And you need to transition that mindset into fitness, and it's like an absolute game changer. And so I'm going to kind of break down in terms of what the feedback loop is and why exactly you need to use this mindset when you're looking at fitness to actually see sustainable results, because this is a very common theme amongst every single engineer I talk to that I've worked with, and it's something you really should develop. And the guys that actually see consistent results for years are implementing this as well. So you guys need to stay tuned for this if you want to see results. And so this is why a lot of people quit, right? So you're not necessarily lazy, right? You're someone that, if you did engineering, you're not lazy, right? There's a reason why engineering is praised. Like if you're an engineer, they're like, wow, this guy has work ethic. It's really praised because it's not easy, right? Whether it was getting your degree or whether it's getting that first junior level position and then getting that senior level position and then going, it's a lot of, the ordinary person can't do it. And so we just have to put our ego aside and not think that we could just come into fitness and crush it, but rather internalize and ask yourself, how was I able to get my engineering career going, but I couldn't get my fitness to get going? And that's because you're addicted to the wrong results when it comes to fitness. Because I'm sure when you want to go, and this is the most common thing, I already know I'm talking to an engineer when I have this first conversation where you're just like, yeah, I want to lose 30 pounds in a month. I want to, go on an insane calorie deficit, and you want to take it completely extreme. And if you think about it, when it comes to engineering, we constantly get a feedback loop. Whenever we, get a good mark, and it goes back to middle school as well. When you were in middle school, when you got a good grade on the test, you got a feedback loop. Congratulations. Your parents probably told you that. If you did bad on the test, your parents probably, if you're brown, probably beat your ass, right? Let's be honest. So there's always a feedback loop. And so we're kind of chasing that feedback loop when it comes to the gym. And we tend to necessarily trick our brain that we aren't making progress when we actually are. And so, when you want to chase, results, when you have an exam, you have the exam, and then a week from now, you get the results. When you are coding, there's a bug that needs to be fixed. You fix it. The system tells you the thing is running, right? And so that you're getting a feedback loop that is working, right? When it comes to you applying for a job, you're getting the interview. You realize your resume is working, and then you get the job. You go to the interview, you get the job. You realize the interview was good. It was working, right? And so you fine tune things based off of constant feedback loop, right? And that kind of mindset is very substantial when it comes to fitness. Like a lot of people think from this point of view, and the biggest takeaway when it comes to how you are wired is more so like immediate proof, right? Like we constantly want to know that what we're doing is working, because I'm sure I've had scenarios where I'd solve a problem, especially in vibrations. That course, but it was something, but I'd spend like an hour on it, and then I realized I did the whole thing wrong. I solved the problem entirely wrong, and that would get to my nerves. And so that annoyance is getting applied into fitness, like doing something and thinking you're not getting results, when in reality you're just chasing immediate results. Like you just want that feedback loop to just come in, right? And it kind of ties back to that external validation, right? I'm sure a lot of engineers, brown engineers, can relate to this. Like we kind of seek external validation one way or the other from our parents, right? Like we're always told like, yo, get good grades on this, go to tutor. Like I was putting every single tutor, all my days. I was putting French tutor, math tutor, English tutor, you name it. I was putting every single tutor, but that's besides the point. Constantly seeing that feeling of validation, like, oh, I studied for 3 hours, the night before, and I've been studying for the entire week, and I got a good mark. I feel validated. When I put in a lot of effort into my resume and I'm getting interviews, I feel validated. When I get the job, I feel validated. And when it comes to fitness, there are short validations, but we're looking at the long-term validations and wanting that to be a short-term validation. So if you want to lose 20 pounds and you want to do it the right way and not just starve yourself and lose 20 pounds, like actually build muscle, gain energy, and lose fat, it's not going to happen in a month. Like you can starve yourself and lose it, but again, you're gonna gain it right back, right? And so that's why it's very important to make sure that you can actually sustain these results. And so you have to look at the feedback loop in a different manner, to where it's actually sustainable. And so, like I mentioned before, right? Like the feedback loop exists in your career as well. And so it's always constantly in your life. And that's what you need to understand. Like you might have like a moment. Like you had that in middle school, elementary school, university, and during your career as well. And that feedback loop gets your mind addicted to always chase results. And that's one of the biggest things, right? So why I'm saying this is because it's very frequent when I talk to engineers, they want to necessarily drop fat as fast as they can. What does that always lead to? Binge eating, right? And it's very prevalent in a lot of engineers, the binge eating cycle, because we try and go all in and then we go all out because we're trying to chase that feedback loop. Oh yeah, I lost 10 pounds this week, so it's working. You lost 10 pounds of water weight and you lost muscle and you lost energy. But when you see that scale move, you're like, it's working. But that's not how you're supposed to think, because we're pretty number driven, right? Whenever like even at work, like whatever, it's always numbers. Like what's this, what's that? It's always number driven. We always look at data. But when it comes to fitness, I'm noticing we're looking at the wrong data, and we always just look at the weight scale. We don't look at how we look in the mirror. We don't look at how we feel. We don't look at our lifts progressing, right? These are different numbers, and they can be quantitative or qualitative, that we aren't necessarily taking into consideration because we just want that weight scale to go down. And so what do people do? They starve themselves. They go no carbs at all. They see the water weight go away. And then they're like, oh, I lost 5 pounds in 2 days. Awesome. And then you binge eat in 2 days, and then it goes back up, and you're still quantifying it based on the number on the scale. And you're like, yeah, this isn't working. And that's why a lot of engineers mess up, because they had this feedback loop of just looking at the weight scale, like how they had it with their career, whether it was, debugging that code and it worked, feedback loop. They studied for exam at university, feedback loop. They constantly get this feedback loop, and they want that feedback as fast as possible, which results in binge eating cycle. And so I don't know why, but there's always that 1,200 calorie benchmark. But for some reason, everyone loves that number. Number one, a lot of people don't necessarily, I'm not gonna. Most people, it's just the truth, that don't actually know how to track their food. They don't track everything, and even if they do, there's always some minuscule errors that they make. And so it's important that you are actually tracking everything correctly, right? And so trying to go the extreme way of getting feedback loop, like throwing in 15K steps, throwing in all the weigh-ins, like, and looking at it every single day. And if you don't see the weight scale go down 2 numbers every single day, you're like, it's not working. But imagine a year from now, you drop 0.5, and you're building muscle too. Matter of fact, let's say in a year you lift and you eat healthy, and the weight scale stay the same, but you build muscle and lose fat at the same time. If the weight is the same, you start to think you didn't make progress. But when I put it in the year aspect, you're like, it was a lot of progress. I stayed the same weight, but I built muscle and lose fat. You see how when you just focus on the weight scale, you're not going to get the results you want. Because that was in my mind too, because I grew up as the fat kid, and so I just wanted the fat to go up. I just wanted the scale to go down in numbers, because I was insecure that I was 200 pounds. I was like, I can't let this continue. I need to lose. I just want to see 180 on the scale, right? And that came from the feedback loop of like me getting a 99 on a test. I was like, I need this needs to happen, right? But we don't take into account of longevity and also results that drive to better life quality, right? You can lose fat, but if it's just, you can lose weight, but if you could go down in numbers, but if it's just weight, there's no point. You want to gain energy, gain muscle, lose fat, and actually feel good, right? So stop obsessing with the scale and focus on different metrics, right? And so before we go into the other metrics that you should be tracking and things that we do with my clients, the huge reason why this backfires is because you start questioning yourself. Because let's say you're well into your career, right? Like you're like 6 years into engineering, you're on top of the moon because your career is something you fought for and you worked hard to get in. And I've noticed a pattern with all the engineers I work with is they feel before they felt like they're not good enough to get in shape because they looked at the wrong feedback loop. And when they go in the binge eating cycle, they're like, yeah, this is not meant for me. Because let's be honest, look around in your office, right? Tomorrow, go, when you go into work, or if you're watching this during work, which a lot of guys do, let's be so honest, like, especially Friday, like the last 2 hours, like nothing happens. Just fucking bullshit. So if you are watching this at work, like there's actually a high chance you probably are. But you go into this binge eating cycle, right? Like, and you start to, what I wanted to say is look around in your office And if they aren't in shape, here's your answer on why you think you can't get in shape. Because majority of people in white collar professions are not in shape. And so you think that this is what you're meant to be. Because when you're trying and implementing a different mindset that you had with engineering into fitness, you don't accomplish it because you're rushing the process. There's always a saying, there's this like bodybuilders are kind of dumb. Like back in the day, there was like this whole like saying. And, you know, there's also that saying, which is the inverse of smart people that aren't necessarily in shape. Because you guys overcomplicate everything. You guys want this immediate results, kind of immediate feedback loop like we did with our education, right? And our career. So it's important that we do change this mindset. Because for me anyways, when I used to binge eat, like it would crush me. Because dude, the worst is like staying on top of it. So like I mentioned, like let's say you get 10,000 steps in, let's say you get your cardio in, let's say you go to the gym, you eat healthy, you meal prep, you do everything, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday comes, you binge eat, and you mess up everything that happened in the 4 days, and then you're looking at Monday again like, fuck, now I want to do this again, and you do it, you eat healthy, you meal prep, you do the cardio, you get all the steps in, you sleep on time, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday comes in for the second week, and you binge eat, it puts you in a loop where you think you can't get in shape. You're mentally drained, more than physically drained, because there's already a whole misconception that South Asians can't get in shape. That on top of the fact that you feel as if, you just can't do it, it crushes you. The fact that you see like a whole mountain now, because every single time you do the same system that doesn't work for you, you feel as if you're just not meant to be, right? And majority of people stay in that position for the rest of their life. They've accepted it and they start coping. I hate that bullshit. They start coping. Oh man, I just want to lose 20 pounds. Yeah, remember when you were growing up, you wanted to look like Toji. Remember when you're growing up, you wanted to look like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So why are we coping? Let's cut the bullshit. Because when you try a system that doesn't work, you start coping with yourself, right? Like you start coping with yourself. If there was a button to press right now, 100% of people would press it. But I also promise you, 99% of the people that press it, that weren't in shape, that got in shape, are going to get fat again. Because they didn't never build a system to actually get in shape and live a healthy and energetic life. Because that takes skill. And it's a mindset shift more than any sort of nutrition hack that you see online. You know those hack videos? Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That extra meal plan you're saving on your Instagram reels, that here's a low calorie, high protein, bullshit. That's not gonna work. You need to change your mindset on how you see fitness. Because how many more fitness tip videos are you gonna save? I know what to do, I just have to do it. Sure. Why haven't we done it? Let me know. Why haven't we done it? Right? Because you need to actually systemize it to where you can actually stick to it. And you just have to make that mindset shift. Right? So when you think of it, take a step back and realize why you're failing. How is your approach? How's your mental approach going to it? How do you feel when you're failing? How do you feel when it's succeeding? Feedback loop. Take it all in together to make sure you have a system that you can actually stick to. And so here's the biggest thing. When you measure outputs, you always look forward to that end goal. So end goal is to look like Toji, the anime character, right? Or it's like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I've heard Jack Human. I've heard a lot of these physiques that they actually want to be like and not coping. And so when you want to be a top level elite physique, if you're in and this is coming from personal experience too, right? Like if you want to have an end goal of a physique you're chasing, and it's an elite level physique, it's going to take you years. If anyone tells you it's going to take you 2-3 months, they're lying to you. If you want an elite level physique and you're starting, you're not going to build an elite level physique in 6 months. You have the mindset, you change the mindset, you change the habits that'll get you to that person. But it'll still take time. There's no time to have a machine, right? That's why people say in 6 months you can change your life, because the identity you create yourself in 6 months, right? That's what changes you. Like there's a lot of guys that came into a program, they left my program a whole different person, because the identity they have, they take it for the rest of their life. And they're set for decades to come because they changed the individual that they are. That's what it really is. When you measure the inputs, measure the type of person you are, measure the activities you do on a day-to-day basis. But when you focus on losing 15 pounds in 2 days, focusing on the output, like the metric, that's when you fail. When you focus on doing the activities that is required every single day, you know you're becoming that person, and also changing the identity. And that comes from also saying no to bullshit. If someone calls you, yo, let's go to this, let's go eat this. No, motherfucker, that ain't me. We already ate out this month. We already ate out this week. Why would I eat out 2 times a week? I'm trying to get to elite level. I'm going to take elite level action. I'm going to be around elite level people. And that's what they're doing, and that's what I want to be too. Because what you've been doing this entire time is not working. Because you're taking in the mindset of the people that just want the output, right? Let's talk about finances. Let's say you talk to someone that's like, yo, dude, I want to get a Lamborghini. Dude, we're gonna get rich. We're gonna buy mansions. And then you talk to him, he does nothing in his life. How would you look at him? You look at him crazy. Like, yo, dude, you mentioned this. Why are you still sitting in your sofa 24/7? You don't even have a job. What are you doing, dude? Right? You see how stupid it sounds? Exact same thing, man. Exact same thing. And it's unfortunate because people don't make this mindset shift and they stay in the same place for literally the entire life. It's actually insane, right? And so you need to start focusing on the inputs, and the outputs will just come. I always say this, right? When you decide that you're going to focus on inputs and you're going to do the daily actions that's required every single day, you've already become that jacked person. You've already become that mindset. Now, it might take a few months. It might take 6 months for people to really get that deep into them. But once you have that characteristics built into you, the universe and your body is just catching up. It's just catching up. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, right? If you do the daily actions, there's no way you don't get jacked. I've never seen. It's literally impossible. If I tell someone to track their food and we track everything like I tell them to do and they do the daily actions, they don't get to the goals they want. Literally impossible. How? It's literally impossible. Literally impossible. There's no way you don't get jacked if you do the things that's required to get jacked. It's literally impossible. And that's the amazing thing. Like you could do it. It's just the choices you make and the mindset belief that that's holding yourself back from actually getting to the shape of your life. Everyone's capable of doing it. You can't buy it. And that's the best part. Like you can literally be like, you can't necessarily like you can't go and give your card and just get the physique. You have to put in the work. And that's what's so beautiful about it. Every single person can do it. And that's why it's so admirable more than anything else, because it's like you really value who you are. And that's why you need to focus on the inputs and not the outputs. And so these are the input metrics that you should be tracking, right? So like I mentioned before, what do people track as when they're trying to lose fat? They track the weight on the scale. They track their body fat percentage. First of all, if you go to these DEXA scans and whatnot, get your body fat percentage, it's not accurate at all. They even have like those weight scales at Amazon. That's like it'll tell you the body fat percentage. Yeah. It's not legit, right? Because there are some that all have marginal errors, but they all have errors. And it's very important because sometimes like you might even see like some DEXA scans, they just scan you like mainly your top half of your body. And so some people store more fat in the bottom half of their body, right? So always be careful with body fat percentage, right? And then also weight, like that's just a huge one. Like always just looking at the weight and thinking, yeah, if I track the weight, I'll lose 2 pounds every day. It's not working. That's not true, right? So what you can control inputs. Are you hitting your protein target every single day? 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per day. Are you getting a step count per day? Are you training? Are you sleeping? Are you tracking your water? Are you tracking your food? You see how we're focusing on the inputs? These are the actions that is required to get in shape. When you focus on the weight scale, when you focus on how you look every single day, and like my clients, we track our body pictures every single week to give it more time. But when you track it every single day, and you check your weight scale every single day, and you judge it based off that weight scale every single day. Like my clients track their weight scale every single day, and so we can have data to look in a long-term scale. But I always clarify to them in the mindset of they should not expect to lose weight every single day. Because when you focus on that, you're focusing on the output. If you want to lose 80 pounds of fat, you're focusing on the output. But if you focus on the inputs, not only do you get fulfillment and actually enjoy the journey, I'm sure you've done some sort of activity or some sort of accomplishment and think, I should enjoy it more. And so that comes from focusing on the inputs. When you focus on these things, your protein target, your step count, your training, your sleep, your water, your food tracking, not only do you get better every single day because you're constantly improving. So you go from like 7,000 steps 1 week to 8,000, like the habit stack method, what I use for my clients. You also start enjoying the process. Yo, dude, I hit my 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight goal today. Awesome. Feedback loop. You see how this is also a feedback loop? Whoa, Kibo, you're a genius. I know. Use the feedback loop to your advantage. The feedback loop we got in engineering, when you fixed a bug and it told you right away, oh, it's correct. Or when you were in university, when you had an exam and you got a mark back, feedback loop. When you change the feedback loop in fitness from the outputs to the inputs, like the goals you have to hit every single day, it becomes so much fun. And you get rewarded to it. My clients, every single time they hit this, yo, good shit. Good job. Let's get it. Right? They all have like a checklist on my app and they get to see everything that they do. Right? Feedback loop. When you focus on the inputs, it's literally a game changer, because that's one of the biggest things and why I'm so passionate. Because if you're an engineer, getting in shape, elite level shape, is just a matter of time. You have the mental capacity to do it, but you've just been focusing on the wrong things. You've been doing the wrong things and focusing on the wrong things. And that's why you're going in the constant cycle, right? All you have to do is take the work ethic, put it into fitness, you get jacked. imagine a jacked engineer that's like 0.0000001% of the entire world. You know how amazing that is? You have the potential to literally be like top 0.0. I pulled that number out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure it's very minuscule on the amount of people that are jacked and engineers. Very small, right? A lot of engineers are overweight. And there's nothing wrong. It is wrong, but what is even more wrong is staying in that same position when you know you could literally get in shape. That's like the dumbest thing ever. Because why would you not? Like genuinely. Like this, like just change the mindset. Like I look at people that are out of shape and I'm just like, why don't you just get in shape? That's generally how I think because I've gotten to the point where I don't let myself get out of shape, right? There's the element of feeling empathy for people, but there's also an element of like, do you want to get to the next level? Okay, so I'm gonna treat you like you want to get to the next level. If you want to get to the next level, we're gonna do next level shit. Get to the next level shit. And so this is what it takes. And so these are the metrics you should track. So sleep 7 hours, hit your protein target, hit your step goal, train. Did you train or did you go on your rest day? And sometimes you need to make sure you actually get your rest days. Some guys like just love going 6 days one week and then they go 0 days the next week. Rest days allow you to recover mentally and physically because when you have work and also family, kids, and etc., you're going to get drained if you go every day for 1 week and then you don't go for the next day, right? And so this is where the habit stack method kind of implements, right? So hit your protein target. You get a 0.7 to 0.8. You put a check mark on the app. Congrats. Sleep 7 hours. We start with, let's say you're very poor with sleep. You get 3 hours. Okay, let's look into your schedule. You know what, dude? For the next coming 2 weeks, let's make sure we get 5 hours of sleep. Feedback loop. Oh, I went from 3 hours to 5 hours. Feedback loop. Congrats. We did it. Now we get to 6. Then we get to 7. Then we get to 8. Feedback loop. Track your food. Oh, dude. We set out 2,200 calories and I hit that. On point. Feedback loop. Congrats. You hit your step count. You start with 6,000. Feedback loop. We hit that. Next week, we get 7,000. Feedback loop. We looked into our schedule and our emotional tolerance and we're able to increase the step count every single week. Feedback loop. You see how when you change your mindset as an engineer and apply that into fitness, it's so easy. It's like a game. Just like how you enjoyed getting these high grades when you were studying or when you were trying to fix a certain problem, whether it was finding the stress of a beam and you got it wrong and then you realize you made the change. You're like, oh, I got it right. Feedback loop. Same shit. Fitness, engineering, tied together. You have the work ethic. You just need to make the transition on how you think about fitness. And so this is what I want you to do going forward. I want you to set out 4 to 5 daily targets. And this could even be as simple as you want to start. This could even be not going on your phone, not bringing your phone to the toilet. You know, not getting that dopamine hit right away and chasing real dopamine. When we talk about feedback loop and getting your energy back, this means changing your entire life. This could simply mean not eating Fruit Loops when you wake up in the morning and eating oats or eating toast and eggs, right? Feedback loop. And so you need to have 4 to 5 daily targets and you keep improving these daily targets. Improving the daily targets in itself is a feedback loop, but within the daily targets you set out, getting that accomplished is another feedback loop. And so you keep stacking your habits and you keep improving. That's exactly how you make fitness like how it was for engineering. That constant feedback loop, you're just looking at the wrong thing. This video, you're probably watching this and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? Why was I looking at the waistcoat every single time, binge eating and repeating when I could have just thought of it this way? Yeah, it's not that fucking hard. And so here's another thing. Here's another feedback loop, right? So every single week with my clients, we check in, do like more in-depth check-in. Like I check in with them every day, but you know, to make sure we're getting these daily habits in. But every single week we go through an in-depth analysis. This looks through every single thing we did throughout the week and also the accomplished hurdle that's going to come for the next week. And so this is important because this is another feedback loop. Congrats, dude. We got 6,000 steps average last week. This week we got 8,000. And I noticed on Friday you got 10,000. So on Friday it was an extra feedback loop. And then on Sunday when I do my check-ins, it's another feedback loop. That mindset you had with engineering, when it's applied to fitness, it becomes so easy because you want that feedback loop that you had in engineering, which let you thrive in that career. And now you just need to transition that, right? And then you can go to monthly, and then you can go to 6 months, and then you can go to 1 year, and then you can go to like you get what I mean? When you think of inputs, you're sticking to fitness forever. You're like a fitness dude. That's become your identity. I promise you. Get rid of that limiting belief that you can't get in shape, and do the tasks that will actually drive the results. Motherfucker, you'll get jacked like in no time. And like I mentioned, in 6 months you could adjust it again. There's so many ways to implement that feedback loop that you had with your career into fitness that it just becomes so easy. Like it's just a mindset shift. That's all it is, right? Because you're chasing that validation, like, oh, this is working. Even if it's not from your manager or your parents, even yourself, like, oh, this is working, I'm doing it. This is correct. I'm gonna keep doing it this way. Right? Like I'm sure if you made a mistake at your job, you're not gonna do the same thing. You're gonna figure out why it's not working, and then once it works, you lean into that. Okay, so I fixed this bug, but this is not working. Okay, let me fix it. Right? Like you keep pushing towards that, and so you need to be pushing towards in a way where you also validate yourself. Yo, I said no to that cookie today. That's a feedback loop. Not, oh, I said no to the cookie today. I better have 3 pounds down in fat the tomorrow. You see how that's the negative feedback loop, which leads you to the mindset that you can't get in shape? That's why you need to take that feedback loop you get in engineering into fitness. It's just that mindset shift, which makes it so easy. It's literally so easy once you understand that mindset shift that's required, man. And this will literally stop the binge eating cycle, because the reason you binge eat is because you go on these intense, thinking about the output and go on these intense tasks. But when you take a step back and go on, focusing on the inputs, that's when you actually see results that actually last. And so it's very important you look at this from a perspective of like, I want to get in shape forever. And so you start focusing on that 1 week goal, a 2 week goal, and you think about the day-to-day goals that'll lead you to the person you want to become on the long-term scale. Focus on the inputs and not the outputs. I hope that's the biggest thing you take from this video. I want you to keep saying that whenever you go into fitness. Focus on the inputs and not the outputs. I love the feedback loop. I've done it with my career, and I'm going to take that knowledge and that skill set into fitness, but I'm going to think about it in a way where I focus and measure my inputs, not the outputs. And I want you guys to try that for a week and see how literally your life changes. And if you guys have any questions on that or want to reach out, I'll leave my Instagram in the description. Shoot me a DM. I usually respond as fast as I can because like I'm on my phone like 24/7, like I'm coaching guys or I'm taking calls. So give me a message there. I do get back to you guys a little later. Like I'm sorry, I have other things to do as well. But nah, shoot me a DM. I'll see if I can help you guys out and subscribe. And if you guys want more information, go check out more knowledge, more value. Check out my Instagram and also check out my description for different videos that's linked as well. Other than that, see you guys in the next one, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys.